Hi, everybody. On the third attempt, I really hope that this life is gonna work. Whoever is doing it, please let me know how is the sound. There you go. I'm gonna add my friend Courtney McDermott. She is gonna be my co-partner on this live, and Courtney is a fascinating woman that spiked a lot of my interest because I literally gonna discuss this piece of treasure right here. But for now, let me figure out these technical moments. Sound is good. Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate your comments. Everybody, please, whoever is going to be joining us, although it's such a late hour, but I wasn't expecting any night owls to be up at this time, but still, whoever is going to join us, please keep us updated as far as the sound, because it's very common that right in the middle of any recording of the video, the sound can disappear against all the laws of physics and gadgets and devices. Anyways, Courtney, you I don't understand. Like, I can't see. You're supposed to be in the picture, right? You're supposed to be like live with me. Like, we're supposed to have like a half and half screen. But I see that you're here, but I don't see you. I keep on accepting you, but you are not anywhere in the picture. I requested to join. I see that. I accepted. I accepted you. I guess we have another option if you're gonna start it from your page and request me to join. I do see the request, and I'm accepting it. Like, I've been accepting your request for like 5 times already, maybe even more. There you go. Accept again. Go live with Courtney. I hope that this time it's gonna work.
Hi. Okay, I am
What are we
here,
gonna
but
do,
now I
huh?
don't see you.
This technology
Does
issues
anyone
are
watching
driving me crazy
Maria, do you
sometimes,
see
because
us? Or do you see
usually it
me?
works and no
So
problem, but
weird.
now
Mm.
okay, I saw your request, and I definitely accepted you, but I do not see you. I'm gonna try one more time. Go live with Courtney. You both are
I'm
here.
not seeing
Okay,
her,
Maria,
and I
thank you
can't
so
hear
much for
her.
telling me,
This
because
is
I
so
don't
weird.
see Courtney at
Eek.
all. Like, I don't hear
Mm.
her. I don't. How does it
I wonder
work?
what's happening. Huh. Gosh. Darn it. I can't
Hello?
see you, and I can't hear you.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
finally. I can
How
hear
it
you.
worked. Yay.
It worked. Magic. But I hear you very well, but I don't see you. That's the problem. I don't know. Do you see me?
Mm, okay, now I see you and I hear you. You can't see me.
No, I can hear you very well, but I don't see you at all. Like the screen just reflecting me and my background at this moment. It's first time happening, never happened before.
Yeah, never me either. And I see friends, yeah, they see us and they hear us. So, okay, I could reboot if you want, and we could try it in like 2 minutes. We could try one last time. Or
Maria says magic. Exactly, it is magic. I think when 2 or 3 magical people are online, there is always some crazy interference. I swear, it always happens. But look, Maria says that we see you and we hear you both. Maria, can you tell us on your end, because you're a third party watching, do you see both of me and Courtney together on the screen? Because from my end, I only see myself and my background. Courtney, what about you? You only see yourself and your background?
no,
Or
I
no?
see both of us and I hear both of us. There's a bit of an echo. Hey, ciao, Bella. Bit of an echo, but
Okay.
I see you, hear you perfectly. So,
Okay. I guess that something is okay. Let's just continue and we'll see how it goes, and we will be able to, have some live recorded. And if something goes wrong, we're going to start again from your page, just to be on the safe side. But looks like so far, looks like our feedback, and we're very appreciative of you girls for this kind feedback. Please keep us updated as soon as any changes. But here we are. I would like to greet everybody, and especially you, Courtney. I was very excited about this interview because I literally just finished reading this amazing, beautiful treasure of yours, and this is book written by Courtney that it's called Give Yourself Permission. And when I wrote my review to you, I really mean every word, because one book of 660 plus pages can substitute many, many sessions with psychologists. I really found it very, very helpful, thrilling, fascinating. You are so capable of looking eye to eye with the reader, which means that every word of yours is filled with sincerity. And me as a clairvoyant, I can tell when there is sincerity in the text, because like there's some things that you just trust the person. You just feel that this person been through all these experiences you described before you were able to share with everybody. And that makes reader, myself included, very comfortable with trusting your experience, and you give people hope for that liberation that everybody is longing for, because we are so caged in a social limiting beliefs.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was that was the beginning. So I wanted to start asking you about this thoughts of yours that actually gave me the goosebumps. One of them was the following. I even wrote it down, because I'm glad I wrote it down separately, because I wasn't able to find it in the book. And so your phrase gave me a lot of food for thought, which is the following. Courtney says that you are an irreplaceable piece of a masterpiece puzzle. No other piece can take your place. And that puzzle is incomplete without your contribution. I would like to ask, what was your inspiration behind those words? Maybe there is an interesting life story, or maybe there is some experience you want to share with us, because a lot of people totally missing out on knowing how unique they are and what they came here to the world, because everybody has that purpose, that life mission. It's just a matter of time and desire to discover it. And unfortunately, a lot of people are living mediocre life because, the job, the bills, whatever it is, all the reasonings are the same everywhere. But people like you give other people hope to find that light, and to find that hope that will make you want to get up from bed in the morning and be excited about the day, because you are doing what you like to do. Please tell us the inspiration behind and your story.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's funny that you draw that particular, because when it was years ago, actually, that I was considering why we connect with certain people and why we don't necessarily connect with others. And what came through to me in a vision basically was this puzzle, and how your piece is next to certain pieces for a reason. And other pieces, they don't necessarily belong next to your piece, but they're part of this masterpiece puzzle that we're all comprising. And so for me, this was really just like a downloaded image of, and all of a sudden it made sense, because sometimes I was frustrated with myself of like, why can't I connect with that person? Or why does something feel off? And I felt like this kind of gave me that permission to say it's okay that you don't always connect with everybody. And it's also brilliant that that person is somewhere else in the puzzle, completing this wholeness that we are. And so that's where the original inspiration came behind puzzle. And then where it came back in the book was, you know what, your piece has to be there. because I don't know if you've ever seen a puzzle with missing pieces. You just like this desire to put them in there, and also the punch in the eye when there's just one and you can't find it anywhere. And I think what you're talking about of when people can't find themselves or can't remember the truth in them, that's what drives a lot of my work, because it's like, remember, you know, it's just, you're this magnificent glowing light, and it's almost like there's just all this debris and muck that's covering it, but it's always there. And so it's like, get the debris and the muck out of the way so you can shine. And I was listening recently, I think it was in a song, and it said something like, go by the people who feel like sunshine. And I was like, and it just sort of is bringing the beginning of this back, this answer to you back. But yeah, that's where that inspiration came from. I think you're muted still. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's your life hack that you gave me a while ago to mute myself while you were talking, so there's, better sound quality. Yeah, I absolutely love the puzzle piece analogy, and I remember the passage from the book you were describing the story about this guy you used to work with who, for some reason, his feedback to you wasn't really like you were kind of not getting along with him. And you were kind of frustrated thinking about how can I make this better? And one time you decided to ask him, hey, what's up? Is there anything wrong? You want to talk? And the guy told you that he's going through some really, really big trouble with his health issues, if I'm not mistaken. And then all of a sudden you had this whole realization that never judge other people because you have no idea what they might be going through. Don't make any assumptions and try to unite with people like in that big piece of puzzle where everybody has the right to be where they are.
Mm-hmm.
There is another part in your book. I'm not going to look for it right now because I'm afraid I'm not going to find it exactly, but I'm just going to try to phrase it how I remember it, where you are describing how society shapes us into people who are misconcepting what love is. We all conditioned to believe until a certain point that we need to deserve love. We need to have a certain degree, we need to have a certain status, certain amount of money, certain this, certain that, in order to be eligible, to be worthy of love. And you break it down very, very simply. I like that you deliver the message that we do not need to be something, achieve something to be loved. We need to learn how to just be love and allow ourselves to feel love, to give, to receive, right? Just by default, just because. And I love this concept as well. Would you like to add anything to it?
Sure. This piece, I think, is one of the most important pieces in the book, or even in a lot of the trainings that I do, because lots of times, as you mentioned, it's kind of hammered into us that in order to be someone, right, we need to be someone, that we need to achieve something. And it's funny how those two get conflated, the being with the doing, and how it's like we're racing to get somewhere and we don't even know where. And every time we hit a milepost, we say, okay, that's supposed to be it. And then, damn it, that's not it. And it reminds me a bit, I was talking about this in an interview the other day, of the noble truths, Buddha, the noble truths and this idea that desire is a trap and all that. And what I was saying in that interview was, I don't think that's actually what he meant, or the right interpretation of what those teachings were, because desire is an evolutionary impulse that's coursing through you. It's perfect, and it's not a trap. The trap is when you believe that thing or that person or that situation is what you need to be okay. That's the trap. And so for me, this piece of like, oh, if I achieve something, then I'll be okay. If someone loves me in a certain way, then I'll be okay. If I can, control all these things, whatever, which we can't control. So the illusion of control is a huge, beautiful piece to look at. But it's like, If everything goes this certain way that I say it has to go for me to be happy, then, all right. And then I'm worthy. And that also means, to go back to your question, I'm worthy then. Because if this person feels this way or this situation is that. And so I think dismantling that is incredibly powerful for a fulfilling life, because it will never be the job, the relationship, the situation that brings you that joy, that happiness, and that sense of fulfillment and that sense of worthiness. That all is in you. And so both of my books are just pointers back to that truth. Yeah.
That's right. That's why I wanted to invite you for interview. I think more people should remember about it, because a lot of people keep forgetting them. Love is the most fundamental, the most beautiful energy this whole universe is woven of, ideally speaking. If we're moving to higher levels and of consciousness and better eventualities of our reality, we need to strive from love. But unfortunately, the opposite of love is fear. Our friend Maria, who is a book author as well, she describes fear very well in her books as well, Maria. And I want to mention how important is it. A lot of people are so afraid to show up. They're so afraid to put themselves out there because they don't believe they're valuable enough. They don't believe they're exquisite. They have something to share the world because of this biggest fear of opinion of others. And every normal and adequate person goes through this stage when they want to do something, but they are so afraid because what others are going to think about me. But think for a second, guys. One of the best things in life might happen to you just because you have the courage. You have the courage to love. You have the courage to do what you want to do. You have the courage to tell somebody you feel about them a certain way. Just have the courage and say it, because the moment might just pass you by. And it's better to regret what has been done than to regret what you haven't done. It's like a very, very philosophical thing, but a lot of people would agree with it because life is short. We never know when it's going to end, how it's going to end. And we're here to remember and remind yourself and ourselves that giving your full essence here and now and treating it like a playground would be a very, very good point to look at life. One of the things I really love in your book was, I'm going to try to find it because you worded it so perfectly, but it was something about don't take everything too seriously, because we're literally spinning on the lump of dirt in the universe around the stars, right? So you were trying to make ourselves look at us from the perspective of much higher dimensions. It's like when you get on the airplane and the airplane leaves the ground and you start flying and you're like really, really far above your usual routine. A lot of people start noticing that the problems they were thinking are problems are not actually that big of a deal because you get new perspective, right? Yeah. So I would love you to comment on it if you remember exactly how you worded it, because I can't, all my notes are like flew away. I can't find the passage right now, but it was something along those lines that don't take everything so seriously because we're in the middle of the universe on the spinning earth. And back to the fear. Fear antidote is action. Just do it. Like Nike, just do it. And the worst that can happen, okay, you fail, but everybody fails. And the most successful people fail multiple times before they actually succeed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay, there's so much in there that I'm so excited and bubbly to discuss. So, and I want to also call out our beautiful friend Maria Nova, who's here and who put this comment in there about fear and love being the same, different sides of the same coin. I think fear is not necessarily the opposite of love. I think it's it's love confused. It's confused love. That's what fear is. And that point is so important because if someone's feeling fearful, they're seeking seeing the truth in them, which is this thing that we're calling love, and we could call God, we could call intelligence, we could call light, we could call all sorts of things. They're seeking that, and they're confused, and they're sort of like, oh, that I'm trying to get back to that. And I think humanity is always trying to get back to that. And this point of perspective, you know, keeping it in perspective, those moments of when you're feeling confused and you're feeling fearful and you're feeling all these things. One of the things I definitely like to point out, and that I did there in the book, as you noticed, was, you know, we're spinning around on a ball of dirt in the middle of space, which seems to go on forever, forever. Okay. Our nearest star is like, I don't know, 4 point something million miles away, right? So, I mean, what are we talking about, right? What are we talking about? And sometimes when I just look up at the sky, which I often do, and I love in the morning to do that and activate just my optical nerves and start to get the flow of serotonin through me and all of that. When I do that, or at nighttime when I sit and marvel at the stars or the moon, or last night I was walking in the rain and everything was covered, and it was like, but I was seeing these beautiful colors through the clouds of the sky, and you're like, what is this? You know, where am I? And it just does put so much into perspective of whatever might be bothering you that day, whatever might be upsetting you that day. You're like, whoa, wait a second. And to the point you made earlier, I mean, one of the things I always like to remind people is you're here today, you're gone tomorrow. In this form, okay? I mean, we know from thermodynamics that energy is neither created nor destroyed. So it's gonna change form. You're gonna change form. All of this is gonna change form. And that's the beauty also too of living this life, is you get to change form in this form. And that's one of the things that I really love to, you know, that I shared a lot about in the book. And that's, again, when you bring that into perspective and you stop trying to like reinforce this idea that you have of yourself. I call it the calcification of the persona. When you stop that crap, then all of a sudden you're like dancing around, to your point about play. I mean, I dedicated a whole chapter to play in this book, and it's actually my favorite chapter in the book, but it's like, we need to be playing a hell of a lot more. And I wrote that chapter for myself, mainly probably, but it's like, just play, get out of your stories about yourself, get out of your habitual behaviors that are, again, calcifying this persona, this character that you're playing. Play other characters. Like when you actually start to realize this ability to play other characters on the stage, your whole life is transformed. So that's where all of that was coming from.
I see. Very well put together. So in a have fun play chapter, which is Courtney's favorite chapter, as she mentioned, I like these three things that she put 3 points across. First, taking ourselves too seriously, which we already discussed. Second, believing it has to be hard. And third, caring too much about what other people think, which we also did discuss. The fear of rejection is one of the biggest fears that commonly exist in the world. And some big authors, like, for example, Dale Carnegie, he mentions in some of his works as well that people just want to be acknowledged. For example, yeah, if you want to successfully build relationships with people, let's say in the work environment, you can make it work by using simple psychological principle, by helping people to get what they desire the most, which is just being acknowledged. They just want to be meaningful, because every soul deep down knows she came here with a bigger purpose than just, you know, just eat, sleep, and and pay the bills and do this all over again, you know, tomorrow. So all the souls are definitely longing for profundity, but a lot of them are so afraid to show up because of all these things that we mentioned about. And I want to pinpoint at believing it has to be hard. This is the limiting belief. And Courtney brings up a lot of limiting beliefs, strategies, how to stop limiting yourself. That's why she even called her masterpiece, Give Yourself Permission. Because if you are not going to allow yourself, nobody will.
Mm.
If you believe it has to be hard, if you believe that life is hard and a lot of other thousands of excuses not to go and do what you want to do, what you like to do, then it's going to be this way. It's like, I see universe as a restaurant where you go and you make the order. You make the order and the order arrives. If you ordered pasta or fettuccine alfredo, you can't expect a ribeye steak because that's not what you ordered. The universe literally hears everything you want. And those people who can put their point across and actually ask for it, they might shall receive. But a lot of people don't know this secret. Unfortunately, they prefer to remain in the old belief limiting construction thought form that's believing that everything has to be hard. What do you think about it, Courtney?
Well, again, so much there. I think first going back to the failure piece, because to your point, so many people are afraid to fail. And I really believe we need a reframing around that because you're not failing, you're learning. And the pain that you're feeling, those are growth pains. Growth pains. I remember when my daughter was really young and she was growing and she would wake up in the middle of the night and she would start crying because her legs were hurting so bad. And I would be massaging her legs and say, "You're growing, baby, you're growing." And that's what I feel when we have these moments, right? Of like, Jesus, I'm crying and I'm just in the dirt and there's this, all this muck is all, that's around the lotus flower. You are rising and you need to remember that. So the fear is like, in this fear, you brought up also the fear of rejection. I mean, we have, again, this comes back to this failure thing, right? That we were taught that if you do something wrong, there are going to be consequences. If you fail, if you don't do well according to the way that other people have decided you should be doing something, that you have failed and there will be repercussions. So when we're growing up, those are bad grades. They could be even punishments, all sorts of things. I don't know when this starts, because when we're really little, and this point has been made by many others, but this point of like when we're really little and we're learning how to crawl or to walk, you don't take your first steps, fall down, and the loving adult by you doesn't say, yeah, that's it, you're never going to walk. You might as well just give up right now because you suck at this and whatever else. No, we have these experts around us that are guiding us through learning how to walk, learning how to run, learning how to sprint, all these things, but they do take some time. So I think the point of, this fear point and this rejection and all of this, again, this is a huge piece that we have to start to really shake off if we want to step into new potentials. And that's really what we're talking about here. We're talking about stepping into new potentials. And what potentials are available to you, that's really for you. Those are those evolutionary impulses. That's for you to quote unquote decide. But the other thing that you're pointing to here that's really important is that we are hyper distracted. We're hyper distracted. So you asking, ask and you shall receive, knock and you shall enter. If you're at that restaurant you were talking about and you're asking for like 12 different dishes, the waiter's going to be like, whoa, wait a second. Like, which one? And then not only that, but you're asking for them. And then the waiter's going back to the cook who, it's a great restaurant. So they're trying to fulfill your order, but he's going back. And then as he makes his way back to just, check on you, you say, forget the ribeye steak. I want the salad and a glass of wine. And so he goes back and then he comes back in the restaurant and you're in the main area and you say, you know what, I'm sorry, forget that. I shouldn't have the wine. It's the middle of the day. He goes back, he says, no problem. I'm going to go back and all this stuff. So this is what we're talking about. If first thing in the morning, last thing at night, whatever, most of us are looking at other people's priorities. We're not doing stuff like this where we're talking about things that are actually enhancing your glow. What I say, literally, you're going to know. One of the beautiful things that you said about at the book at the beginning was when you read something and you recognize it as truth. You recognize truth. Everyone does. We recognize it. We know it. When we see it, we know it. When we hear it, you know it when you hear it in yourself, and you know it when you hear it in others. And anything that is said to the contrary is just, you can immediately call it as bullshit. And that's what we're talking about. And you will recognize it. You will recognize it in something you will hear. You will recognize it in the inner voice that's springing forth from you, that's calling you to something. And if you've been frustrated because you've been knocking, maybe quiet the noise down a little bit so you can knock on one door instead of 100 different doors and then run around wondering which one's going to open. You do have to have that clarity. And again, that's something I could go on and on. So I'll pass it back over.
Yes. Please remind me if I'll forget. I can get swept away with my thoughts a lot. But I want to talk about the chapter that I like the most, which is opt out. I mean, I like a lot of them. I like all your chapters because they're all like just flowing perfectly one from another. But I want to discuss the opt-out concept of yours. But before we go there, I want to wrap up quickly about this whole fear, rejection, this whole situation. For people who are watching us, who will be watching us, maybe they will find this information in a time when they're afraid. They want to do something, but they're just afraid to do it. And by the way, guys, it's never too late. That's what Courtney states in her book. And she says in the chapter, make a lot of money. That's one of my favorite chapters, where you discuss money, how to make a lot of money. You say the following fact. Did you know that Morgan Freeman started his acting career at the age of 50? Before that, he was a U.S. Air Force veteran and worked as a mechanic. He also worked as a driver and an announcer for a local radio station. Morgan Freeman is an Academy Award-winning actor and one of the highest paid performers in Hollywood. And it's not about praising Morgan Freeman, although I do love this actor. I think he's brilliant. Like, all the movies I've ever seen with him are just amazing. Not just acting, there's like a lot of character in him, but it's just such a good example that you gave people hope. A lot of people have these excuses. Oh, I'm getting too old, especially like a lot of women in Eastern European culture where I come from. It's just like there's so much conditioning. There's so many conditioning beliefs around it. Oh, you have to be married and you have to have certain amount of kids by the certain age and all that stuff. But why people are so worried about fitting into the frame of society that experience shows not too happy. Society is not too happy. We know the divorce rates is really high, not only in US and all over the world, right? Like, why the society is trying to bend people into their not the most happy and optimal path they could be walking, but just trying to contain everybody in that small box, where in the reality there is so many unlimited possibilities. And people like Morgan Freeman and many others, who average person would think, what am I doing? I'm 50 years old. What kind of acting I can dream about? It's impossible. That's what a lot of brains are telling themselves, right? Because I see it this way. Society is a big inertious mess. And when somebody in our close circle, we all have friends and family, somebody in our close circle is trying to get out of that whole big mess and trying to do something different, automatically that person attracts a lot of attention, and that attention not always healthy, because people are just afraid to do what that person is doing. So they're trying to stop him or her with 1,000 what ifs. Oh, but why are you want to immigrate to Australia? What are you going to do over there? It's so far away. You don't know anybody. You don't know the accent, the language, the culture. Where are you going to work? Oh, you're not going to make it. Oh, why are you want to move to Hollywood? Nobody's making it there. Like stuff like this, like limiting social fears ingrained in our DNA and passed all over the place. But example like the Morgan Freeman, and not only, there's a lot of amazing examples, shows us that everything is possible in this universe if you put your mind into it and if you open your heart to it. And also, maybe there are some other secrets that Courtney wants to share.
Sure. Yeah.
On that matter.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of the fact, I haven't actually seen this, but that crabs, right? If you have a bucket of crabs, you actually don't need to put a lid over the bucket if you want to keep the crabs in. Because apparently when a bunch of crabs are in there, when one tries to get out, all the other crabs will pull it back down. But there are those crabs that get out. And trust me, the lid is not on. So we get into this place lots of times of learned helplessness, and we get into that place because of the conditionings, to your point, of society, the conditionings we've put on ourselves. Now, when we start putting the conditioning on ourselves, that's when we really are in trouble, because we don't even realize half the time that it is conditioning. So it is conditioning. Learned helplessness is a fascinating concept in psychology. We can maybe talk about that at some point if you want. But I think here it's more important to talk about what is actually happening when you decide to go for it, and how, to your question, you can do that. Because again, if we're trapped in that fear chamber, all the air is going to be sucked out. So we got to find our way out of that. And one of the ways that I think is most powerful of finding your way out of that is, sometimes I do this exercise, or I used to do this in workshops, and sometimes I do this with people, is I ask the question, okay, if you had 9 more months to live, 9 more months, what would you do? Where would you go? I mean, we're talking about the gestation period of a human being. Who would you talk to? What would you do? What would you say? What have you not done that you always wanted to do, that you put off for whatever reason you put it off? And then I take the person from 9 months to 9 days. If you knew today that in 9 days from now you weren't going to be here, what would you be? And I don't even want to say, what would you do? I want to say, what would you be? Who would you be? How would you show up? How would you talk to people? And then I take the exercise from 9 days to 9 hours. If you had less than a day work, quote unquote, how are you going to spend that time? Who have you not told that you really love them? And you know what? Thank you, because I wouldn't be here without you. When was the last time you told them that? Like, I wouldn't physically be here without you. There are people in my life that I would not physically be here without. And they know that I know. And they know how thankful I am. And they know it frequently, because I don't know how long. None of us do. I think I'm going to be here for a long time still. I really do. But you don't know. We don't know. And this is one of the most powerful ways of getting out of your fear. Turn the phone off. Ask yourself these questions. Sit down with a notebook. If I had 9 more months to live, where would I go? What would I do? How would I walk into a room? How would I address myself to someone? How would I look at that person? How would I be with that person? How would I be with every single moment? You know, there's a beautiful story, and I can't remember where this comes from, but this guy, he's escaping from a tiger or a lion, and he runs up into this tree, and he's on the edge of this branch, and he knows that he's going to, this branch is going to fall, because it can't hold him. And he's there, and he's in this obviously incredibly precarious position, and he finds a berry, and he plucks the berry, and he tastes the berry. And he had never tasted anything so sweet. That's what I'm talking about. If you can find that moment, and you can find them, it's every single moment like that, potentially, that you could be living. That is the place where we start to leave fear behind, and we start to open up to these potentials I've been talking about. And they are available to you. This I can promise. This I can promise from my own experience, and from, at this point, the thousands of people that I've worked with around the world, on stage and etc. And it's like, those potentials are available for me. I get stories all the time from people who said, you know, I really didn't believe it, listen to this talk or read the book and all this. I mean, I got a story the other day from some guy who was living in a trailer with his kids and everything. This was actually a couple months ago. He sent me the story that he read the book, and that from that moment, everything has changed. They've moved out of it. They've started a new life. I'm not saying that that was the book. That was the man. That was the man. That was the being inside that man that said enough. This is not the ultimate truth about my life and about my potential. So that's available to anyone at any time, and that's where that was coming from.
You really touch my heart right now with this story about with the question that we all should ask ourselves. Imagine if we have 9 months to live. How would we live it, and what would we do and not do, and how much we would express our love to those people, like you mentioned, without whom we wouldn't even be here, like parents, yeah, like family or significant others, or just anybody, friends, anybody we truly love. How much more we would be doing, how much more time we would be spending together and sharing beautiful moments if we only knew that it's going to be over in 9 months. It was such a good, profound question to ask ourselves. And I want to mention also people who are lacking that feeling of inspiration, which drives a lot of people to create beautiful arts all over the world. All types of arts, whether it's writing a book or a movie script or a beautiful painting or whatever it is. Inspiration is always behind. Inspiration is a beautiful, high vibrational, divine, and very sublime energy that's not available to majority of people because they do not know how to opt out the always coming disturbing noise of the outside world. I would like you to share your concept of opt out and of importance of opting out, the notifications on the phone, the starting your day right, because as soon as we wake up and those who touch the phone and start scrolling, that's it, you're done. Don't even count on getting that inspiration because it's not born in the cell phone, in the in the scrolling and any of these outside disturbances. Very important to start your day right, and very important to be okay with having boundaries. It doesn't mean you're selfish. If you put your phone on the airplane mode because you need sleep or you need some peace, it doesn't make you selfish. It makes you a person who simply takes care of your needs at that moment of time, right? So please share about your inspiration and your concept of opting out the noise and how it helps achieve that sublime inspiration and everything else that you mentioned in the book as well.
Yeah, opting out I think that the chapter starts with JOMO and the joy of missing out. And we don't realize also why. When you talk about the morning and the evening, lots of times people don't realize why, or you talked about the morning specifically, but I'll talk about the evening time as well. What we're not realizing, or most people are not realizing, is that these are the times of the day where you're most programmable. Okay, so if you have a dream or a vision, or you sat down and did that 9-month exercise that we were talking about a minute ago, and you have this vision, you have this idea, this potential available to you, the moments where your subconscious is going to be the most open to it is first thing in the morning is the most programmable because well, I'll explain why in a moment. And then last thing in the evening, right before you doze off. Now, the reason for this is clear anyway, I think it's clear probably to most of us is we're going in and out of different brainwave frequencies. Clear in the sense that you know that's happening, right? Because when you're in a dream state, you know you're in a totally different frequency. And it is an actual brainwave frequency. For most people, they're in delta when they're in really deep sleep. Okay, you can also be in theta when you're in this kind of in-between place. And we're in these states where anything's possible, right? Like when you're dreaming, you realize, oh my God, I flew last night. I mean, I actually had wings and I flew, and there's been dreams where I've been flying and I thought, oh my God, I've known how to do this forever. How did I forget how to do this? And then I wake up in this dimension and I'm like, wait a second. So those pieces, those times of your day are so, so important. And this piece about opting out, what we're not realizing is that silence, quiet, is one of the most profound ways for us to actually get those insights, the messages. It's like the steering of your persona, the steering of the character comes in those quiet places. Now, you can have quiet places when you're washing the dishes. You don't have to be meditating, but you're really getting with yourself. And opting out means I am not going to prioritize other people's priorities today. I'm actually going to start with what's most important to me. And that piece alone, lots of times I tell people is, you know, you don't need loads of time, but you are going to have like those 5 minutes or few minutes, just a few minutes right when you wake up. If you turn to your phone, that first thing, you've lost the magic. If you want to see who wrote you and who did this and who's wearing the new whatever you have, you're in trouble. You're in trouble not because you've done anything wrong, but because you've missed a chance. You've missed a chance to step into a new potential and to really, really start embracing that potential. And here's the beautiful thing about that, though. You keep getting chances. You keep getting them. You're getting a chance every single moment of every single day. So it doesn't have to be first thing or last thing. It can literally just be, you know what? I'm going to silence notifications for a little bit on my phone. And I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to sit. You know, people think, oh, there's all these techniques and whatever. No, I'm just going to sit and I'm just going to be with whatever's going on. And I like to, you know, one of the ways I like to do it with myself is I say, especially if I notice there's some inner turmoil or there's too much noise, is I'll sit down with myself and be like, I'm here, baby, what's up? I'm here, what's up? And the treasure troves available to us, like literally the more you start diminishing the noise. And again, as you said, pointed out, I dedicated a whole chapter to this because I think it's so important for us to really be diminishing the noise in order to hear. You know, the average person is having somewhere between 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And for most people, those are the same thoughts every day. And then they look around and they're like, why does my life look like this? I mean, those are your investment pieces. That's what you're investing in every single day. When you start to quiet and when you start to opt out, you're not only going to start having less of those, but they're going to be more directed. And then there's this reclaiming of power that is phenomenal. I like Maria saying, I can hear all the stories in silence. It's so true. The quieter space, the more colorful story is, and the deeper the storytelling. Thank you, beautiful. I love that Maria is sharing this because now with my writing, and this is something I was asked about recently. They were in one of the interviews, they were asking me, well, you know, how do you write? And I used to sit down at the computer and be like, I just got to get this out, you know, I've got to produce this chapter today, whatever. And now what I do, oh, it says the video is paused. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. You can hear?
I can hear you very well.
Okay.
Maria, how's the video now? Is it still paused? Please let us know.
Okay. I'll keep sharing it time so you can
I
hear
can
me.
hear you well. Mhm.
So now, I didn't on her end. If you want to mute, then there's no action. Okay, so now what I do with the writing, and I just love this so much, is especially if I get, you know, press requests or towards the end of writing this book, which I think you can detect in the writing as well, is I literally lay down. I close my eyes. I ask myself the question that pertains to what it is that I'm writing about. I keep my phone with data off right next to me. And as soon as I get the answers and they start flowing through, I dictate those answers into my phone. And then when the answer stops or it gets confused because maybe I've got noise, I put the phone back down, I go back into that deep silence, and I listen for the next piece of information. I get that, I dictate it into my phone. Now, what's actually happening is I'm laying down, so I'm signaling my body that we're going into those rest states, which is where I'm more open to this inspiration you were talking about earlier. It's also where, again, I start shifting into these other frequencies. So I go from beta to alpha to potentially theta, and I start getting these insights that are just so powerful. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I could not make, like, I could spend 10 hours in front of the computer trying to come up with the stuff that comes like this, and I would never have anything closely, even remotely that exquisite. So this piece, again, it's science. It's not like, just go and lay out. No, it's actually science. Start slipping into these different frequencies so you can have access to different information. Or if you want to think about it in terms of what's happening brainwave wise, neurochemically, like you're starting to release catecholamines, which are vital for learning and memory. Like you're all sorts of beautiful, a beautiful chemical cocktail is happening within you too as you're relaxing. So you go and just relax. And I think this is the biggest piece that I would also highlight here is like, we need to relax. Because again, to that 9 month, 9 day, 9 hour thing, like let's just relax and have some fun. Yeah. And the whole spinning around in a ball of dirt.
That's amazing. I like what you mentioned about as far as the opting out from the noise, and everything you said is so true. Only when I started practicing it, I realized that how much inspiration I have been missing out in life, and that it does work. Opt out the noise, give yourself permission to have those, even if it's 5 minutes, it's still better than nothing. Like even now I think about my mom, and not only my mom, probably a lot of moms in the world who now I understand after many years why my mom was having that 5, 10 peaceful minutes with her morning coffee before work and before the routine starts. Like now, when you grow up, you understand how important is it to be with yourself, where in that silence, a new life can be born, and new ideas can be born that come to fruition and make this world a better place. And speaking of power, speaking of claiming back your power, I like the passage in your book in the Be You chapter that says, keep advancing like a pawn on a chessboard that despite all the odds makes it to the other side where it can be transformed into a queen and with the freedom to go where she wants. And this is really, really beautiful. It gave me a lot of food for thought. Even the chess game, it's very amazing strategic game where queen definitely can move in any direction, but she has to get to that point of freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I found it really moving. I found it moving also because it connects with intuition. Like the ending of the passage is, you will no longer need any book or any external source to tell you what you knew all along, what you only ever had access to, the joy and love and peace and wonder that has always been within you, that is you. And that's that amazing intuition channel that people definitely underestimate and should definitely strive to develop it and use both hemispheres of the brain, both logical and creative, intuitive. What can you add up on this, Courtney?
Well,
Ciao ragazza, ciao Marinella, probably your friend.
those guys said were beautiful. Thank you, darling. Wow, there's so much here. And by the way, I love, love, love listening to you read from my book. It's such an honor. Thank you. It's just so beautiful to also hear that reflected back from someone who is also seeking and committed to this truth. It's what I call this intelligence. And I think it's the thing that scares us the most. It's the thing we want to avoid at any cost, is like really getting with ourselves so that we can advance in those ways on that chessboard. on this, in this game. It is a game, by the way. It is a game. And I think that often also gets overlooked, and the whole mortality piece can bring that back in. Why I say it's a game, I also like to think of it as a play. I think this is one of the most effective ways I like to think about life and my own changing nature in life is like, okay, if this really is just the greatest spectacle ever put on, what character do I want to play today? You know, how does she move across that board? Where does she go? Who does she see? How does she like feel this? We overlook so much, to your point, we overlook so much in our race to get somewhere. And if you pause for 5 seconds, you realize the absurdity of it. And you really only need less than 5 seconds. You probably need a second to realize, like, where are you going? Like this rushing nature that we have to get somewhere. I think that's really what's in question here. It's really what's in question is like, where are you rushing to? And when you slow down, you know, one of the things I say is like, you know, when I talk about the queenness or this goddess nature or whatever that lives in all of us is like, no one rushes a queen. Like, I don't think there's ever been a time where someone else has rushed a queen. And what I realized when I thought about that is like, but a queen can rush herself. Or she can decide, maybe I'm done with that. Maybe I'm done with that. Maybe actually I'm already there. And that's what I was alluding to at the beginning of the book. There's nowhere for you to be. You're already there. And if you can really, oh, did you lose me? Because you just came back in. Okay. Yeah, this whole piece of you're already there is so critical to realize. And if you, like I said, if you take those few seconds, you're going to find it. And then you're going to want to keep finding it. And it's just going to grow and grow and grow.
That's really beautiful. That's really moving. Another thing I wanted to point out is in the chapter Make a Lot of Money, you mentioned the principle number 3. I like it a lot. It resonates with me a lot because, well, to begin with, Courtney says that no one else can do you. You're the only human on the planet, 1 in 8 billion, who has your combination of talents, experience, stories, flaws, passions, and gifts. In other words, you are an irreplaceable piece of masterpiece puzzle. Oh, that's this part that I was looking for. Now I found it. This was like a prelude, pre-game to it. The combination of all these features mentioned above makes you you and gives you those wings. And a lot of people experiencing such low vibrational emotions like fear, jealousy, envy, all those emotions are very low vibrational. And one day it hit me, why do people feel this way? Because a lot of them have that bird that never spread its wings and never flew, and that bird was always caged. And to break the chains of that cage, you can only do it through having that courage. And that courage comes from simple as allowing yourself. And this is really moving. People who are finding new ways to make money in this new space that we live in, those are the people who can catch the bird of inspiration by the tail and fly with it like a phoenix in Harry Potter, if you will, you know, that can carry immensely heavy loads and can resurrect the phoenix bird. So a lot of people who finally step outside of that limiting belief systems, and they start doing something that they truly like. And that likeness comes from the uniqueness each and one of us possess. Those are the people who are making new money. Those are the people who are making it really big, and they're moving forward with more and more ideas and inspiration. And as a matter of fact, they get more energy. They work many hours, but they don't get tired. Like somebody very, very famous said, I don't remember the name right now. It didn't come to me in the moment, but somebody said, do what you like, and you're not going to have to work a day in your life. And this is really, really big, I think. And a lot of those interesting money concept, money energy concept are brought up in this book, which I think will be very interesting to a lot of people who are trying to find their predestination. And by the way, Courtney knows because she interviews a lot of interesting people herself. She talks to like one of the most unusual, amazing people on a very often basis. And I'm sure you do know that there are certain ways to discover your talents. And if you don't know what you're born with, please feel free to always find the answers from people who are specializing in those fields. Those fields are multiple. One of them, I think it's like an ABC that everybody should get. Get your astrology chart read by a good professional.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say about that. So your work is, the tables have been turned here today. Your work is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, anyone listening, anyone from my community who listens to this after, just, I can't sing your praises high enough because your work is so real. What you were saying at the beginning of like when you hear something and you know it is truth. And I remember before I worked with you, and I think that was, I don't know how many years ago it was at this time when I came to you and experienced your work. I was actually pretty skeptical at that time, not of you, but of the whole thing. And I remember reading this quote that I shared in one of our previous conversations here on Instagram from a very famous investor who said, millionaires don't study astrology, billionaires do. And I was like, okay, there's something there. I mean, I kind of knew intuitively that there was something there because I would notice my own energy shifting with moons or different cycles. And we're obviously, as women too, very cyclical beings. We recognize that, we know that. But when I went to you and I was exposed to your work and I had that experience, it was just like, wow, this is it. I want to say something about the talents and finding people, then that'll bring us back to your work and some of the courses that I hope you'll share more information about here. Is the thing I'd love for everyone to understand who's listening about talents is the point you made a minute ago, is that you have very specific talents that may be latent in you, but they're there. And the way you will maybe recognize those talents is if you're struggling to, is if you've seen other people maybe doing something like that or being something like that, and it sparked some sort of, could even be that it sparked some envy or it sparked some frustration. That's an indicator. It could be that you got excited about it. That's obviously a very clear indicator. That's a latent talent or potentially a talent that you're developing. The more talents you develop, the more talents you get. And that points back to the parable of the talents, which is a beautiful parable in the Bible. It's been so many years since I studied the Bible, but I like to study a lot of different spiritual texts because they reveal so much. And actually our science is catching up to a lot of that wisdom now. And there's this parable in there where God gives three different people talents, and I'm kind of paraphrasing or creating this a little bit on my own too of my interpretation because it's been so long. But say he gives the first one 10 talents and the second one 5, and the last one he gives 1 talent. Now at the time of the writing of this text, a talent was money, it was currency. which by the way is such a perfect word. Currency, corrente, comes from flow, right? So money and all of this stuff is about flow, and the talents are about flow. So anyway, say God goes back to that person with 10 talents after he's left him with these 10 talents for a period, and he goes back and he says, how did it go with your talents? And this guy says, man, it was amazing. I doubled them. I had so much fun. I learned so much. I have double the amount of talents now. And God says, incredible. I'm going to give you double that. And he goes to the second one that had 5, and he says, how'd you get on? And the guy with 5 says, it was amazing. It was pretty amazing. I didn't double my talents, but I got a couple more, and I learned so much in the process. And God says, great. And he gives him a couple more. And then God goes to the last one who had 1 talent, and he says, how'd you get on? And the guy says, oh, I couldn't figure this thing out. I just left it there. And I mean, I don't know what to do with this thing. And God took that 1 talent away. This intelligence that is coursing through you is sending you messages about your talents all the time. You don't have to think about what's your mission in life or your ultimate vision or any of that BS. Just say, wow, I've really wanted to pick up the guitar for the last 10 years and I never did it. I really wanted to write a book and I don't know where to start. And I've had that desires for the last 15 years. Start. Again, the more you develop them, the more you will be given. It's a law. It's how it works. So I just want to say that and point back to, like you said, the people who can remind you of that. That's what I seek to do in my work, and I know that's what you seek to do in your work. And I know you've got some courses coming up, so I'd love to hear more about them. And because me personally, I'm interested, and I want everyone else listening who's curious about this and wanting to take it further.
Thank you, Courtney. Yeah, I will add up that one of the saddest things in life is a waste of talent. And whoever is watching us or will be watching in the future, I hope that you guys will take this information into consideration and start moving accordingly. Immediately discover your true talents that every single one of us are born with. And some of us has so many to count. But the more knowledge we acquire, the more broad is the spectrum of what we can do and what else can be other sources of income that we can generate. Because like you said, this parable is actually really wise. Like it definitely reveals this whole wisdom of constant need for upgrading, like upgrading the devices, the phones, upgrading the version of you, that the old version of you was only capable to have that short memory. The new version of you is supposed to have much more memory, just like this whole devices that are in progress. And before I will give the answer about your question as far as the course that I launched, I want to mention that Courtney is gonna come visit LA soon. So you guys are lucky because Courtney is gonna be here on a mission. She's running 2 workshops in LA in the month of May. One of them is gonna be a writing workshop. I assume it's for the people who wanna start writing the books or something like that, right? And the second workshop is going to be a money workshop. Please keep us updated on the dates, and it would be amazing to attend. I hope I will be in LA at that time, which I am not currently knowing exactly, but just so you know, guys, we're giving you heads up. Courtney is traveling all over the world, and I don't know where to catch her. I know that currently she is in Milan, but in May she's going to be in LA launching 2 of her workshops, and feel free to join and stay tuned with the more following up information in regards to that.
Yeah, and the dates are the 11th and 12th of May. So it's a Saturday, and I'm doing other private work, public, and I haven't had public workshops in a long time. So it's really exciting. I'm excited to get to work with a lot of people who've been on my list asking for trainings that I haven't been able to give because we have a 3-year waiting list for trainings, for individual trainings with me. So it's just a really, I'm super excited, and I hope to get to see as many of you as possible in LA. So yeah, tell us about your course.
Thanks, Courtney. Okay, the course. I call the course Archetypal Psychology. course because it includes a lot of tools that I'm teaching everybody who is enrolled about how to develop your own intuitive channel. Intuition channel can be of a different caliber, to each his own. Somebody is born with oracle skills, for example, receiving information from the astral plane or dream, getting decoded messages through the dreams and then interpreting them and finding out a lot of accurate information that can be put together well and help not only yourself but other people around you, right? Some people are good at reading all types of cards, all types of other mantic systems like numerology, astrology, um, psychology also, or sacred knowledge of elements. But I decided to combine everything, all the pieces, all those talents, like you mentioned. I wanted to combine them all together and give the most important essence of each and one with a emphasis on opening your own third eye. Third eye is everybody's pineal gland. Everybody has that, but to each his own speed of opening it and being able to be like that GPS navigator. And like you mentioned in your book, that you're going to be at that point where you don't need any advice from anybody. You don't need to read any books anymore. You're just going to have that inner knowing. It's called claircognizance as well. There's clairvoyance, there's claircognizance, and a lot of other skills that should be highly developed nowadays because we live in a new version of the space. We live in a new matrix. This is a very new space where the laws are working on a different levels. Right now, people cannot survive the storm of anything inauthentic, whether it's in business or in relationship. Everything comes from the heart. Everything comes from the vibrational alignment. That's why such disciplines as astrology, numerology, tarot, oracle cards reading, and all those other clairvoyant tools are so in such great demand nowadays. And I was eagerly waiting to share what I learned over many, many years in consulting field. I wanted to share with my audience and my potential students and students who are currently enrolled everything I know, all the secrets, and how to turn your passion, your hobby into income as well, while developing your third eye and applying the principles of archetypes, 22 archetypes from major tarot arcana that originated all the way in ancient Egypt. And that's what the course is about. It's just, a tip of the iceberg, of course. And we're going to attach links down below this video for more information about how it can be purchased and how you can purchase Courtney's book as well. I'm going to attach the link from Amazon where you can buy it. And I hope that you will find it entertaining, instructive, and enjoy this beautiful read just like I did and many, many others.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much, Tim. And like I said, if you're doing this from my end, please be sure to her program. She is the real deal. And you can hear that throughout this entire time that we've spent together. So I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful that you've all been here and that Selena, you brought this on. You brought this to us. It was such a beautiful alignment for both of us right now to come back onto the screen together. So thank you so much.
Likewise, Courtney, thank you so much for finding time. I also would love to hear all about your spiritual experience with Elizabeth that you mentioned in this book, but probably we should leave it for our private girls talk. Looks like the LA hours are very late right now, and we still have some people who are online, believe it or not. Maria, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so happy that you were with us.
Yeah, and also another Blanca joined, and so many beautiful people who joined us this early morning here and late, or I should say super early morning there. So I look forward to actually meeting you in person again for the first time. And Selena, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
You are amazing. I'm looking forward to meet you in person as well when you're going to be here in LA. Hopefully, I'll be able to be here as well at that times. And thank you so much for everybody who was watching and who will be watching. And you guys always remember that you can achieve anything you want. Everything is possible. You're only one permission away from it. So give it to yourself. Mwah.
Mwah.
Ciao, Bella.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us today. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. We'll see you in another life.
Yeah.
Ciao.